Hello everyone and welcome to this video lecture series where we are going to talk about neural networks and deep learning. So in the previous video lecture we had gone through logistic regression, and as I have already told you earlier that we have used this logistic regression in order to binary classify our training examples. Also, what we have learned in the previous video lecture is two types of functions. The first one is the loss function, and this loss function was often called as the error function. What this loss function does is this loss function basically defines that how much accurate our learning algorithm is with respect to a single training example. And another function that we have learned about in the previous video lecture is the cost function. So basic difference between the loss function and the cost function was that the loss function was defined over the single training example, and this cost function was defined over the entire training set. And basically what we have learned about cost function is this cost function was defined in terms of parameters. These parameters were w and b. So w was a parameter that has a dimension of nx, where nx are the number of features in the input feature vector x, and b is a real number. So in this video lecture we are going to learn about gradient descent, because ultimately our aim is to find the value of w and b in the cost function. So let us continue. Now, in this slide, there is a quite recap of the equations that we have learned in the previous video lecture. So in this lecture, we are talking about gradient descent method. And let us recap some concept once again. So basically what y hat was basically the prediction or the predicted outcome, that whether the image would be classified as a cat image or a non-cat image, and the outcome was in the binary notations, that is 0 or 1. 1 if the image was of a cat image, and 0 if it is a non-cat image. And we have seen that we could apply these functions in the form of a linear regression as w transpose x plus b. But further we have seen this, if we could write this equation in this form w transpose x plus b, then this would be a linear equation, and this equation would give us incorrect result if we would classify the binary examples. So what we have done is we have applied a function known as the sigma, and after applying sigma we could easily classify these examples. Okay, and what is the formula for this function sigma is that sigma of z equals to 1 upon 1 plus e to the power of minus z. And further we have learned some intuitions about this sigma, as what will happen if we take the value of y hat to be 0 or y hat to be 1 in the cost function. We have also learned about this. Okay, so what our cost function was defined basically over our parameters, that is w and b. And this cost function was basically the average. By average we mean that we would write 1 upon m over all the training examples, and starting from the first training example, that is from I equal to 1, and then going up to I equal to m, because there are a total of m training examples given to us here. And we will define an average over the loss function. Okay, and what this loss function would do, it would basically find out the difference between the predicted value, that is y hat, and the actual value that is present in our training set, that is the y. And for I, we have seen that how we can write this equation in the form of ith notations. Okay, so these things we have already seen in the previous video lecture. Also, one thing to note here is that I have written something wrong in this equation, and the wrong thing in this equation is I need to put the brackets here, and if I don't put the bracket here, this equation would become wrong, because this minus sign is applied to this whole equation. Okay, and if you remove this minus sign, then you have to change this plus sign inside also. Okay, so this thing has to be remember, so don't make a mistake while writing this cost function equation. And so what our cost function equation would be, minus 1 upon m summation of I equal to 1 to m in bracket yi log y hat of I plus 1 minus y of I log of 1 minus y hat of I. So basically what I was talking about few seconds later was the intuition of the cost function, and we seriously solved this cost function intuition in the last lecture, where we have taken the value of y to be 1 and y to be 0, and we have separately solved these two cases. Okay, so this is basically the thing that we have learned in the previous video lecture. Now what our aim in this video lecture is, we are going to solve the equation using gradient descent. And why do we need gradient descent? Because we basically want to find the value of cost function to be as minimum as possible by reaching to a global minimum. So I'll write the objective of using the gradient descent. What our objective is, we want to find W and B, that is our parameters W and B, that minimizes J of W comma V. So why we need to minimize? Because we need to find the optimum result. Okay, so a few things have to be kept in mind while minimizing this cost functions. So let us see here. So you can see this graph, and what this graph is basically called as, this graph is basically called as a contour plot. Contour, contour plot. Okay, this term has to be kept in mind very seriously, because these terms would be used in the future video lectures also. Okay, so this bow shaped function or the convex graph is called as the contour plot, and this contour plot is convex shaped. Okay, so what ultimately we need to do with this contour plot is that we need to find a global minima of this contour plot. Now, what do you mean by global minima? Is suppose that you have a curve in the form of this. So basically this is also a convex curve, and if you have this x-axis and y-axis, now you want to find a global minima. So this point would be the global minima. What a global minima is, it is a point on the curve where the slope of the curve, if you draw a tangent, the slope of this tangent would be equal to 0. So if it is a point on the curve where the slope of the tangent is 0. Okay, so at this point only one and only one tangent is possible, and the slope of this tangent is 0, then this is the point of global minima. Okay, so we often encounter some of the graphs where the shape is non-convex also. Suppose I have drawn this graph. Now in this graph there are multiple number of local minimas possible, and this is not a good case in case of a cost function. We generally don't tend to achieve this function, because this would give certain number of errors, as our graph may stick to a certain number of local minimas. Okay, but we are aiming to what? We are aiming to the global minima. So this point has to be cleverly taken into consideration. Okay, so now as I have already told you that this plot is called as the counter plot, and how you can achieve minima using this counter plot is, suppose that you take a training example. Suppose that you take an example and you find out that the value of cost function using these training examples, that is using the values of W and B, the cost function came out to be here. So what you know that this is not the obviously the minima, and you want to find the global minima. Now what you do is you stand at this point and you look around to the 360 degrees, and you find a value of this cost function over which the you basically find the values of w and v, over which this cost function will have the value that is smaller than the present cost function value. Okay, so you turned around 360 degree and you found that this is the point where the value of cost function would be smaller than the present value, and so you shift it to this point. Okay, I think this red color is not quite much visible, so I'll change the color of ink. Okay, let me choose as black color, so this would be easily visible. Okay, so this was my initial point and this is my present point. So I shifted from point 1 to point 2. Now again you stand at the second point and you look 360 degree towards you, and you find that when you descend to this point, then you will get another value of cost function that is smaller than the present value. And subsequently, when you will apply this cost function and you will update the values of w and v, then you will find that ultimately you will reach to the global minimum. Okay, so basically this is the point where you have reached to the global minimum. Now what is global minima? Global minima is a point where the slope, suppose if I draw a tangent here, then slope of this tangent would be equal to 0. Now specifically talking about this graph is that the two axes on the lower side represents the parameter w and v, and the upper axis basically represents the cost function that is j of w and v. So what would be the cost function value? What would be the value of the cost function that is j of w comma v if I apply the specific value of w comma v? So this is basically the counter plot. Also, one thing has to be specifically noted here, that we have taken the parameters w and v into the consideration. As I have already told you that these are the parameters, so the dimensions of b would be, it would be a single dimension. Okay, and also for taking this example to be a very simple example, here we have also considered that the parameter w would also be a single dimension vector. Okay, because this is represented only by using a single axis, so this is a single dimension vector. But in original, our vector w would be something of the dimension nx if it is a single training example, and if there are m training example, then it would be of a dimension nx cross m. So this has to be seriously kept in mind. Okay, so this is the basically intuition of the counter plot that we need to know. Okay, so now I have already told you that what we are doing in this counter plot is we are changing the values of, w and b. So how do we change the values of w and b? Let's look over to this in the next slide. Okay, so now here we have a graph in which, suppose that we neglect the parameter b and we only take into the consideration the parameter w. Now this is only done for the sake of simplicity. Okay, and now if you will understand this example very good, and if you will understand this example in a better way, so I'll introduce the another parameter b also, and we'll write the equation using both the parameters w and b. Okay, so now if I have only a single parameter w, then what our curve would be like? So one axis of parameter b would be removed and there would be only two axes. The x-axis would represent w parameter, and what our y-axis will represent, it will represent j of w, and parameter b is cancelled as I've already said. So basically if this plot is in the convex form, so I'll represent this plot somewhat as follows. Okay, so suppose that this is the convex function, convex cost function that we have achieved. Okay, now if what we'll do in this gradient descent is we will gradually update the values of our parameter. Here our parameter is w, so we'll update the value of w and we'll repeatedly do that. Okay, so we'll repeat this step under the curly braces. W colon equal to W minus alpha times of d of JW upon d of W, and again we'll close the curly braces. So this is the updation rule of the parameter that we would be required to do whenever we need to update the parameter W. And if we have a parameter V, then similar updation rule will require for that updating that parameter B also. Now, there are few things that you need to notice in this equation. The first one that you specifically notice is here are our parameter W, okay? And there is a difference in this. Now, the difference comes with this sign, okay? So most frequently you have seen this sign represents the equal to value, okay? So if I write x equal to y, so basically what we are doing here is we are comparing the values of x and y, whether this x and y are both equal or not. But unlike this equal sign, we are not using this equal to sign here. Instead we are using this colon equal to sign here, okay? So suppose that if I write x colon equal to y, so what we are doing, we are assigning the value of y to x. So basically this is the difference between equal to and colon equal to. Okay, so this much is clear to us. Now here you can see another term as alpha. So what is alpha? I'll change the ink color. Okay, now what is alpha? So alpha is basically called as the learning rate. Alpha is basically called as the learning rate. And what this rate is, basically you see in the previous slide. Now in the previous slide, what we have done is we have marked these steps, okay, like this, this, this. I'm taking this as an example. So the size of each step is determined by this learning parameter alpha. Okay, so this thing has to be kept in mind. And what this learning rate represent? Size of steps. Okay, and how to choose the size of these steps and learning rate alpha, I'll tell you in the future video lectures. Okay, you don't need to worry much about this learning rate as of now, but you need to understand about the notations and what is the intuition of this notation. That is, this alpha represents the learning rate. Okay, and learning rate is basically the size of steps you need to take while moving down to the global minima. Okay, and now this term d of jw upon d of w basically represent the derivative. As I've already told you that what a derivative is, suppose that if I have this graph and this is a convex function, then suppose I take this point, then a tangent, if a tangent is drawn as at this point, then this tangent or the slope of this tangent would be the derivative. Okay, the slope of this tangent would be the derivative. Okay, and for finding the global minima, what we need to do, we need to achieve a point on this convex curve where the slope of this curve would be 0. So that point would be the global minima. Okay, so this thing has to be kept in mind. Now there is a very good intuition about when we use this repeated step of updating the parameters. Okay, so suppose that I take this point on the convex curve. I've already taken one point on the previous curve that is shown in the previous slide, and using gradient descent I have moved to the global minima. So in this curve also I am taking a random point. Okay, imaginary random point. Okay, now what I need to do, I need to apply the repeated step, that is updation step to this point. So w colon equal to w minus, there would be some alpha learning rate, and djw upon dw. Now if suppose that I draw a tangent at this point, suppose I draw a tangent at this point and I find the slope of this tangent. So what the slope of this tangent would be? The slope of this tangent would be a positive slope. I don't know the exact value of this slope, but I know very well that the slope of this tangent would be positive. Okay, because tangent is like this on this point, so the slope of this tangent is positive. So if this derivative is positive, this alpha learning rate is positive. So when this positive term is subtracted from w, so ultimately what will happen, if I assign this smaller value of w to this value, so this w will update. And what our updation will result to, this updation will result in a smaller value of w. Okay, so ultimately if I take this point and I first update the value of w, so w will naturally move to the left hand side because the value of w will decrease. So, and I have this point. Now again, if I draw a tangent at this point and I take the slope, then in this case also the tangent is having a positive slope, and again the value of w will increase and I will move to this point. So if I have these points, and so on these points the value of w will increase and I'll gradually move to left hand side. Okay, now take another example. Suppose that I am here on this curve and I draw a tangent through this point. Okay, this is my tangent and I want to find the slope of this tangent. So what the slope of this tangent would be, the slope of this tangent drawn here would be of the negative sign. Okay, so this derivative would be negative in this case. A negative number multiplied by something negative would result to be a positive, and in this case the value of w will subsequently increase. So what I'll do is I'll shift on the right hand side because the value of w will increase, and subsequently applying this updation rule I'll get towards the global minima. So if am at this point, so I'll move on right hand side of the curve in order to achieve the global minimum. Now some things have to be kept in mind while solving these equations. One thing is that we have solved the cost function in terms of w till now because we have simplified our example and we have taken only one parameter. But suppose that originally you have both the parameters w and b, so how you will write this equation corresponding to this? Okay, as we have seen in the previous example. So how you will do this? Okay, so now previously if you were only updating the parameter w, then now you would have to update both the parameters w and b. So what will be the equation? W colon equal to w minus alpha, that is the learning rate, d of j of w comma b whole upon d of w. And what will be the equation of b? B colon equal to b minus alpha time of d of j w comma b upon d of b. So one thing has to be noted here is since we have studied derivatives a few years back, that is maybe you have studied derivatives in your graduation degree or in your school days, but I'll recall all the concept of derivative that would be required here. So this is basically derivative, and this I've already told you represents the slope. Okay, this represents the slope. Also this is called as the partial derivative. Okay, And what we are doing in this partial derivative, suppose that if we are updating the equation in terms of parameter w, then we will update this derivative in terms of w only. So this w would be variable here, and we'll consider this b as constant when we'll updating w. And when we are updating these equations in terms of parameter b, then we will take b as a variable and parameter w as constant. So this is the intuition of this update rule. Okay. Also in our junior classes, we have represented this partial derivative in the form of a del function. So basically if you write this function, then this would be represented as del of j of w comma b whole upon del of w. And how this would be written: del of j of w comma b whole upon del of b. So both the notations are correct, whether you write derivative as d or del. Both the notations are correct. It is up to you to write which notation. Generally, if we have two or more parameters, we try to write the derivative in the form of a del notation so that we could avoid some of the confusions. Because suppose that if we have a parameter d in the equation, suppose that our equation is of the form w comma d, then you would have to write the equation in the form of d of j of w comma d upon d of d. So this would create a lot of confusion while writing the derivative. So if you have a single parameter, that is w, then you can write d for partial derivative. But if you have two or more parameters, then you can write del also. There is no issue. Okay, so this much for now. Thanks for watching this video lecture. I hope this video lecture, where we have been seeing about the gradient descent, this lecture would be very much informative to you. Don't forget to subscribe my YouTube channel so that even if a single video lecture is uploaded, so definitely you get a notification for that. And like my videos so that I could be appreciated more and more. Share this video with your friends. Thank you.